Once upon a time there was a man named Henry. He was a lawyer in Delta State, Nigeria, respected, honest, but far from rich. Henry and his wife, Rita, had a daughter named Regina. From the age of 7, Regina stood before cameras, bright-eyed and fearless, playing roles in Nollywood films. She wasn't just the daughter of a lawyer with big dreams, she was the dream. By the time she turned 18, Regina was bringing home money from her acting. The applause, the lights, the attention, it all made her mother feel proud and hopeful. Rita whispered, "This is our escape." Henry smiled, but his heart held a quiet warning. He told his daughter, "Education matters more than the scenes." Then, on a hot afternoon in Delta State, Rita drove Regina and her siblings to the mansion of a powerful man, Chief Mike, a wealthy politician, old enough to be the grandfather, but young enough in his power to make hearts tremble. He owned fleets of cars, private jets, houses that people came to admire. When his eyes settled on Regina, Rita held her breath. 3 weeks later, just 3 weeks after that visit, Regina was married to Chief Mike. Rita was radiant. To her, the dream had arrived. Henry, though invited, stayed away. He watched from distance, his daughter's bright future, now a marriage in gold and marble. And as the wedding bells rang, Henry's heart whispered a question no father wants to ask: what price will Regina pay for this treasure? After the traditional marriage, Rita walked around like a queen. She had finally arrived. All her life, she had watched people with wealth look down on her, but now her daughter was married to Chief Mike, the man everyone in Delta State admired and feared. Henry stayed home the day of the ceremony. He couldn't stand to watch his daughter, who just turned 18, become the wife of a man in his 70s. As the drums beat and the dancers circled, he sat alone in his small law office, reading his one Bible. "Lord," he whispered, "protect my child, even from the decisions of those who love her." Rita, on the other hand, laughed and danced till her feet ached. When people asked about her husband's absence, she smiled and said, "He's too proud to understand what a blessing this is." From that day, everything changed. Private jets, designer clothes, servants greeting her daughter as Madam Regina. Rita began to live between the village and the city. Whenever she visited, Chief Mike's drivers picked her up. He gave her envelopes of cash and introduced her to people who called her Mama of the new queen. Regina posted her new life online, pictures beside her husband's jets, luxury vacations, cars, jewelry. She told her followers, "It's better to cry in a Ferrari than in a tricycle." Her words spread like fire. Some praised her boldness, others shook their heads, whispering that the young actress had traded her youth for comfort. Chief Mike truly loved Regina at first. She was young, beautiful, lively, and unlike his older wives, she brought him attention and pride. He even built a new wing in his mansion for her alone. Soon she became pregnant and gave birth to a baby boy. The celebration lasted 3 days. 2 years later, she had another son. Rita's joy overflowed. She started calling herself Grandmama of the Empire. Every holiday, she brought Regina's siblings to the mansion. Her brothers and sisters who used to live on bread and beans now swam in the chief's pool, ate foreign food, and posed for photos. The family had never seen such wealth. They stopped visiting Henry. They no longer needed his quiet, broke wisdom. But peace does not live where envy sleeps. Chief Mike's other wives began to complain. They whispered that Regina was taking everything, the man's time, his gifts, his favor. One even told him, "Since that little actress came, you've forgotten your real family." At first he ignored them, but as Regina's youthful spirit showed, her love for social media, her laughter, her need for attention, his pride began to crack. One evening, at a family event, Regina danced with her friends while Chief Mike sat watching. He saw the eyes of young men following her and something dark rose in him: jealousy, insecurity, anger. When they got home, he shouted, You're my wife. A married woman shouldn't dance like that in public. Regina tried to explain. It was just a dance. Everyone was. Silence, he backed. Do you know who I am? I made you. That was the first night she saw the other side of his wealth, the one that came with control. Rita heard about the argument but brushed it aside. All marriages have issues, she said. Don't spoil your blessings with small fights. But Henry's heart ached when he saw the photos. His daughter's smile no longer reached her eyes. Then the problems grew. Chief Mike stopped allowing her siblings to visit as often. He said they were getting spoiled. He began staying longer with his older wives. Sometimes Regina waited weeks before he returned. When he did, he was distant. Rita started noticing that the gifts were fewer, the trips slower, and the servants colder. She called her daughter one night, whispering, "What's happening?" Regina sighed softly. "Mama, I'm fine," she said. But her voice cracked, and the line went dead. Henry knew. He could feel it even from miles away, the storm was beginning. And the same man who had once been told he was too poor to understand happiness was about to learn that money, without peace, is a curse that wears gold chains. By the time the honeymoon glow settled, something deeper was stirring in Regina's heart. She had moved into Chief Mike's grand mansion, had 2 baby boys who lit up her world, and watched her siblings join in the lavish lifestyle she once only dreamed of. Yet the sparkle in her eyes was becoming dimmer. Rita loved the new life. She posted pictures of private jets, luxury cars, weekend trips abroad. She'd say things like, "Better to cry in a Ferrari than in a rickety van," and her laughter would echo through the halls of the mansion. The siblings, Regina's brothers and sisters, would arrive unannounced, music blaring, champagne flowing. The palace felt more like a club than a home. Meanwhile, Regina tried to keep up. On the surface she was the star wife, smiling at the camera, showing off gifts, but inside, she felt the weight of a silent bargain. She was only 17 when the match was made. Her father, Henry, wasn't invited to the traditional wedding. By tradition he was meant to, but he refused out of protest and concern. The ceremony went ahead with just Rita, the family friends, and the village whispering its astonishment at the match. The old man and the young girl. The grand life came quickly, but so did the cracks. The other wives whispered. They saw the privilege Regina had, they watched her new cars, the trips, but they also felt the threat. Their husband, Chief Mike, a man used to power and control, began seeing Regina not as a partner but as a challenge. For a while he smiled and gave her gifts, but soon he began to enforce rules. He said, "No more acting." Regina argued softly, "But this is my life, my career." He shook his head. "Your career is here now. With me. Don't forget that." Her phone, once her lifeline to fans, began to be used less. She was told whom she could see, where she could go. At first it was subtle, a meeting cancelled, a call unanswered. Then it became firm, "You will not go on set this month. You will attend my event." The siblings kept partying in the mansion. They laughed in front of flashing cameras. Regina's posts about her life were everywhere, yet no one saw the tears behind the smile. One night, as she stood in the nursery looking at her sleeping boys, she caught her reflection in the mirror, and the woman looking back at her wasn't the little girl who studied with a lantern and a book under the mango tree anymore. She was someone else, someone caught between freedom and gilded bars. One evening, the brothers and sisters held a big party in Chief Mike's guest wing. Music, laughter, dancing. Regina tried to join in, half-heartedly, but she felt the gaze of Chief Mike from across the room. Later, after the party ended, he confronted her. "You think this is just fun?" he said. "You're my wife. You act like a young girl still chasing attention." Regina's cheeks flushed, not with shame, but confusion. What was she to do? She smiled anyway. I was just having fun, she whispered. He turned away. The next morning, at the breakfast table, he refused to eat with the brothers and sisters. They were told to leave the mansion within a week. Rita protested. But they live here, their family. They cause instability, he said coldly. Regina watched her family shrink. The big house felt emptier. The laughter outside stopped whenever the other wives' eyes passed by. The roles reversed. She had come in as the young star, the new favorite, but she was becoming the outsider. Then came the moment that crushed whatever illusions remained. Henry, her father, visited unannounced. He traveled from the village, quietly, humbly, and arrived at the mansion gate. The guard hesitated but saw the visitor was Regina's father and let him in. He sat in the grand living room, his heart pounding. He heard voices, raised voices. He crept upstairs. From the corridor, he heard Regina crying. He froze in shock. Inside the room, the wall between the facade and reality was exposed. Chief Mike stood over his daughter-in-law, his face red, his voice raised. "You belong to me," he shouted. "Don't forget who fed you, who bought your house, who made you wife before you could even finish school." Regina quivered. The man's belt hung loosely at his side. Henry watched, powerless but enraged. He could not intervene yet. He heard the slap. He heard the plea. And he heard the announcement, "If you leave, I will reveal everything. Your family owes me. Your past is mine." At that moment Henry's words stopped. He didn't knock. He didn't make a scene. He just stepped back. When the shouting stopped and Chief Mike left the room, Henry knocked as though he were a normal visitor. Chief Mike opened the door, smiling. "Father-in-law. What a surprise." Rita and Regina emerged. Regina's eyes were red and swollen. She tried to smile. Henry asked softly, "Are you happy, my daughter?" For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Regina broke. Tears streamed. Henry said quietly, "Pack your things. I'm taking you home." Chief Mike laughed. "Home? To your father? You'll starve." Henry looked him in the eye. "Maybe. But she will not rot in a golden prison." That was the turning point. The moment the nightmare behind the shine revealed itself. The moment Regina and her father chose dignity over dollars. The moment the moth finally realized the flame was not freedom, it was a trap. The next morning, the sun had barely risen when Regina and Henry left Chief Mike's mansion. They didn't take much, just a small suitcase with clothes for Regina and her two boys. The guards at the gate stared in silence, unsure whether to salute or stop them. Henry's calm face left no room for questions. Rita was waiting at home when they arrived. She was humming a gospel tune, preparing breakfast, when the sound of a car outside made her glance through the window. For a moment, her smile froze. There was Henry, covered in dust from travel, and behind him, Regina with swollen eyes on her two children. Rita ran outside. "Regina. My baby. What's wrong? Where's Chief Mike? What happened?" Henry answered first, voice low and firm. "Your daughter is home. She's not going back." Rita blinked in confusion. "Not going back? Are you mad? Do you know what you've done? You can't just take her away from her husband like that." Regina burst into tears. "Mama, please, don't make me go back. He hits me. He shouts every day. I can't breathe in that house anymore." The color drained from Rita's face. She turned to her husband, her voice rising. "Henry, do you hear what you're saying? You think this is the village, where people can just walk away from a chief? You want to destroy us all." Henry didn't flinch. "You destroyed us the day you sold our daughter's peace for comfort." Silence filled the compound. Even the birds seemed to stop singing. Rita slowly sat down on the step, trembling. No, no, I didn't know, she whispered. He said he loved her. He promised he'd take care of her. Henry looked at her, eyes tired but steady. He took care of your pride. Not our child. That night, Henry stayed awake praying, while Regina slept beside her children for the first time without fear. He prayed for forgiveness, not just for himself but for his wife, for his daughter, and even for Chief Mike. The next morning, the neighbors began to whisper. In a small town, secrets travel faster than the wind. Some pitied them. Others mocked them. See them, one woman said. After eating money, they've returned to gory and groundnuts. But Henry didn't care. He went back to his small law office and started again. Within weeks, Chief Mike's men came to the village. They brought gifts, food, clothes, money, and a message: the chief wants his wife back. Rita was tempted. She held the envelope, her hands shaking. Henry, maybe we should let her go for a while. At least until things calm down. Henry took the envelope, tore it in half, and said quietly, we are come already. That man's money is blood. I don't want peace bought with pain. Chief Mike's messengers left, furious. He tried again later, sending more money, more threats. When Henry didn't respond, he stopped. Months passed. Life wasn't easy, but it was real. Henry took on small legal cases, and Rita began selling food by the roadside. Regina helped her father draft legal letters, taking interest in his work. She found joy in the ordinary again, cooking for her children, walking in the open, laughing with neighbors. One afternoon, she asked softly, Papa, do you think people can start over? Henry smiled. God specializes in new beginnings. But Rita struggled with guilt. Each night she replayed everything, the glamour, the laughter, the gifts, and the day her daughter came home broken. She cried quietly when no one saw. One Sunday, during service, the pastor preached about forgiveness. He read Matthew 16 verse 26, What shall it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his soul? Rita wept openly. After church she went to Henry and knelt down. I was blind, she said. I wanted to live through her. Please forgive me. Henry helped her up gently. I already did, he said. We all lost something, but we didn't lose each other. From that day, Rita changed. She focused on her market work, helped Henry with household bills, and stopped chasing attention. The family, once divided by greed, began to rebuild its bond. Meanwhile, in Chief Mike's mansion, things weren't the same. His other wives fought constantly. His name appeared less in newspapers. Politicians he once called friends avoided him. His wealth remained, but his peace vanished. One evening, alone in his sitting room, he scrolled through social media and saw a picture of Regina and her two boys smiling at a church event. She looked free, peaceful, something his money couldn't buy. For the first time, he realized that power means nothing when the heart is empty. In the village, life was simple. Henry would sit outside under the mango tree, carving wood for fun, while his grandsons played around him. Rita would bring roasted corn, and Regina would laugh again, a sound that reminded Henry of the little girl with big dreams. Every time someone asked him, Do you regret taking her back? Henry would smile and say, Regret? No. I only regret that I didn't fight harder sooner. He had learned something most parents forget: love is not proven by how much we give our children, but by how well we protect their peace. And that peace, once broken, had finally returned to his home. Years rolled by. The noise around Regina's marriage faded, replaced by whispers of admiration for how she had rebuilt her life. The same people who once mocked her now spoke of her strength. Regina had returned to acting, not for fame this time, but for purpose. She carefully chose roles that told stories of courage, faith, and redemption. She wanted young girls to know that a mistake doesn't have to be a life sentence. Her performances carried emotion that felt real because it was born from her own scars. Her sons grew up healthy, playful, and bright. She raised them in the same modest town where her father practiced law. Sometimes, when she dropped them at school, people would whisper, "That's the girl who left the billionaire." But Regina just smiled. Yes, she'd say to herself, the girl who found peace. Henry aged gracefully. His small law office became a symbol of integrity. He was known as the lawyer who stood against gold. Clients came not because of power, but because of trust. Every evening, he would sit outside with a cup of tea, watching his grandchildren play and thanking God that he hadn't let fear or poverty silence his voice. Rita had become a changed woman. Her days of chasing status were over. She now volunteered at the local church, organizing programs for young mothers. She would tell them, "Don't push your daughters into what glitters. Not everything that shines is gold. Sometimes it's fire." There were still hard days. Money was tight. Regina sometimes struggled to balance motherhood, acting, and schoolwork for her boys. But every time things felt heavy, Henry's quiet voice reminded her, "We survived worse. And God is still writing your story." One afternoon, a local news station came to interview Regina. They wanted her to talk about her journey, from child actress to the wife of a politician, to the woman who walked away and found peace. The reporter asked gently, "If you could go back, would you change anything?" Regina smiled, looked down for a moment, and said, "Maybe not. Pain taught me what comfort never could. It showed me who truly loved me." The interview went viral. People from across Nigeria and beyond praised her courage. Some said, "She's proof that wealth isn't happiness." Others wrote, "This story is every parent's warning." Even Chief Mike saw the interview. He sat alone in his mansion, watching the TV screen flicker with the image of the young woman who had once been his pride. He turned off the volume, leaned back, and sighed deeply. For the first time in years, his eyes watered. He picked up his phone, scrolled through his contacts, and stopped at her name. But he couldn't call. He knew some bridges can't be crossed twice. Months later, Chief Mike fell ill. The news spread quietly, but Regina didn't rejoice. She bowed her head and whispered a short prayer, "Lord, forgive him, as you have forgiven me." She had learned that forgiveness wasn't for the other person, it was for her own peace. Back at home, Rita was teaching Sunday school when a group of young girls gathered around her. One of them asked, "Ma, is it true your daughter married a rich man when she was young?" Rita smiled sadly. "Yes, my dear. But that story ended differently than you think. God gave us a second chance." The girl tilted her head. Was she sad? Rita paused, then said softly, "She was, for a time. But sadness isn't the end of anyone's story. When you give your pain to God, He gives you purpose in return." Later that night, the family gathered for dinner. Henry said grace, thanking God for peace, health, and unity. After the meal, Regina sat under the mango tree, the same tree where she once studied as a child. Her sons were playing with sticks and laughter filled the air. Rita joined her, handing her a cup of water. "You know," she said, "sometimes I still dream about those days in the mansion." Regina smiled faintly. "I do too, Mama. But then I wake up and thank God I'm here instead." Rita chuckled. "You're stronger than me, my daughter. I learned too late." Regina held her mother's hand. "No, Mama. You learned just in time." A light breeze passed through the leaves. The smell of roasted corn from a neighbor's house drifted in. For the first time in years, Regina felt completely free, no noise, no spotlight, just the steady rhythm of peace. As the sun set, Henry came out with his Bible. He sat beside them and read aloud. The blessing of the Lord makes rich, and he adds no sorrow with it. Proverbs 10 verse 22. Regina smiled. That's the kind of blessing I want for my boys, Papa. The kind that doesn't hurt. Henry nodded. Then teach them what you've learned, that peace is the greatest form of wealth. That night, as the family gathered for prayer, Regina looked at her sons and whispered, "You will never have to choose between love and peace. You will have both." And as they all said amen, the sound wasn't just an ending, it was a promise. The promise of a new beginning, built not on riches or fame, but on love, wisdom, and the grace of God. The sun had set, and the soft orange glow faded behind the mango tree. The evening breeze carried quiet laughter from the nearby houses. Inside, Henry, Rita, and Regina sat around a wooden table, their hands joined in prayer. The house was small, but the peace within it was larger than any mansion they had ever known. When they finished, Regina looked at her parents and said softly, "I've been thinking, maybe my story isn't just for me. Maybe it's for others." Henry smiled knowingly. When God brings you through the fire, it's so your light can guide others out of the darkness. Regina nodded. "Then I'll share it. All of it." A few months later, she was invited to speak at a youth conference in Lagos, a gathering of young girls, mothers, and parents from all walks of life. The hall was full. Cameras flashed, but this time, Regina didn't pose. She walked onto the stage in a simple white dress, holding no jewelry, no designer bag, just a small Bible in her hand. The audience fell silent as she began. "When I was 17, she said softly, I thought I had found everything I ever wanted. Fame, money, luxury. But the truth is, I was a prisoner dressed in gold." Gasps echoed across the hall. Mothers leaned forward. Young girls listened with wide eyes. "I was told it's better to cry in a Ferrari than on a motorcycle," she continued, her voice trembling slightly. But the tears still felt the same. Pain doesn't care where you sit, it only cares where your heart is. The audience was quiet. Some people began to cry quietly. Regina looked down at her Bible and read aloud. Proverbs 14 verse 1, "A wise woman builds her house, but the foolish one tears hers down with her own hands." She looked up again. "My mother wanted the best for me, but she believed money was the answer. It wasn't. The only thing that built our home again was wisdom, love, and God's mercy." Her voice grew steadier. "Parents, please, let your daughters grow. Don't let poverty rush their purpose. Don't trade their peace for your pride. And daughters," she said, looking toward the crowd of young girls, "don't let the world define your worth by what you own or who you marry. Let it be defined by your peace, your purpose, and your faith." Applause rippled through the hall, growing louder with each sentence. Then she opened again to another verse. Jeremiah 29 verse 11, "For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a future and a hope." Regina smiled. "This verse saved me. When I had nothing, when the world mocked me for walking away from a billionaire, I remembered this promise. God's plan is always better than man's proposal." By the time she finished speaking, the audience was standing. Mothers hugged their daughters. Fathers wiped their eyes. It wasn't just a speech, it was a mirror reflecting the truth too many families ignore. Afterward, a journalist asked, "Regina, if you could tell one thing to every girl watching right now, what would it be?" She smiled and replied, "Don't chase a life that shines, chase a life that lasts. Money fades. Beauty fades. But love, respect, and faith, they last forever." When she returned home, Henry hugged her tightly. "You've turned pain into purpose," he said. Rita added softly, "and shame into testimony." Regina laughed through tears. "We all did, Mama. Later that night, under the quiet hum of the crickets, Henry opened his Bible again and read from Psalm 127 verse 3. Children are a heritage from the Lord, the fruit of the womb is his reward. He looked at his daughter and said, "You were never ours to trade. You were God's gift to guide." Rita reached across the table, holding his hand. "And you guided her right." Regina smiled, tears in her eyes. "You both did." Then she looked into the camera for the closing narration of the YouTube story, her voice calm, emotional, and full of truth. If you're a parent listening right now, remember, the true test of love isn't how much you give your child, but how well you protect their peace. And to every young girl dreaming of wealth and fame, remember, it's better to sleep in a small room with love than to cry in a mansion without peace. The blessing of the Lord makes rich and adds no sorrow to it. She paused for a moment and added gently, "If this story touched your heart, share it. Let someone else remember that peace, not money, is the real proof of success." Subscribe for more stories that heal, teach, and remind us that God's timing is perfect. And as the soft music faded, her last words lingered like a prayer in the hearts of every listener. True wealth is not what you have. It's who you become.
Thanks for watching this story all the way to the end. You're amazing for staying with us. If you enjoyed this video, don't stop here. We've got plenty more stories just like this one waiting for you. Simply click on one of the videos popping up on your screen right now and keep the journey going. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next upload. Until next time, stay inspired, stay curious, and keep the stories alive.